Hello and welcome. My name is Julie, and today's video is showing you the 3 Stamp Club projects that we made this month in March of 2025. So we are going to be using 2 different bundles. One is called Memorable Blooms, and we're going to make 2 cards using this stamp bundle, stamp set with dies, and we're going to be making a card with More Than Autumn bundle, which I thought was kind of fun. This came out in the fall of 2024, and of course everybody went crazy with the lattes and the pumpkin spice and the hot cocoa. But we are using this for a really cute springtime card, and I love it because the name of the set is More Than Autumn, and we are definitely doing something besides autumn with these stamps and dies today. So let's get started. We're going to start with that springtime card with More Than Autumn. So I am going to work through this a little bit at a quicker pace because I have all 3 cards to show you. So if there's something that I neglect to say in the way of a dimension or measurement or something like that, just know that you can find all of that information in the drop-down menu below this video. All right, so we are beginning with a card base made out of fresh freesia. This is a very standard size, 5.5 by 8.5 inches, and scored and folded at 4.25 inches. That's our base. Then I have another piece that's just slightly smaller. It's 4 inches by 5.25 inches. And on this piece, we are going to run it through the Forever Plaid 3D embossing folder. So let me grab that embossing folder. And we're also going to need a plate number 4. Okay, so our piece of cardstock is going to get nestled right inside our embossing folder here. And I'm going to line it up pretty straight. Since I've got plaid marks going across and up and down, I want my cardstock straight so that my plaid doesn't look crooked. I'm going to close that. And then if you're new to embossing, or just as a reminder, you always want to put the hinged end of the embossing folder through your machine first, not the open end. So let's do that. I need the full size Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine because of the size of this emboss folder. All right. So for the platform, we're going to start with a plate number 1. And because this is a 3D emboss folder, we don't have any other plates below it. Our embossing folder goes next. And on top of that is a plate number 4. And we're going to go ahead and put that through our machine. All right, we're going to come back to this in just a moment, but we'll move it out of the way for a second here. Let's take our piece out and look at this wonderful texture. Oh, that looks fantastic. All right, this has really become one of my very, very favorites. All right, we're going to go ahead and attach this piece to the front of the card. It's a front panel. And because of all of that texture, you may want to use a little extra adhesive. Sometimes it's enough to just drizzle around the edge and a squiggle in the middle. But you might want to add a little bit extra just to make sure that that embossing folder, or that embossed piece, isn't going to come up. So you'll see I'm using a little bit more glue than I normally would. I'm doing my stamping today standing up. Now this is kind of a funny story because years ago when I did a lot of home workshops, I did all of my stamping standing up. It just worked for me at the time. Then as the years went along and my stamp studio space kind of changed and grew, and I ended up with a really comfortable desk chair and better space and so forth, I kind of got in the habit of sitting down while I stamp. So while I'm still comfortable doing both, my habit has been to sit, but today I will be bringing the embossing machine in and out of camera view, and we've got lots of pieces, and so I am positioned here standing up for best access to all kinds of things around my desk. All right, we've got that front panel in place now, and the next thing we're going to do is add a piece of designer series paper. Now at the end of the video, usually I show you like 1 or 2 alternative looks, and I will show you a different look with a similar but different paper. All right, this is going to go on, and we want it not in the middle. We want it down a little ways like so, and we can just attach this with our adhesive as well. All right, this piece measures 4 inches across, and it's 2 inches, 2 by 4. Okay, let's put that. You'll see that it goes side to side on the embossed panel, but it doesn't go all the way to the edges of the card since it's only 4 inches across. Okay, now we've got that in place. We're going to do some more die cutting. I need a tag, and the tag shape that I wanted to use on this card actually comes from a Christmas set called Merriest Trees, and Merriest Trees is still available, both the stamp set and the dies. So this is that great big tag from those dies, and we're going to go ahead and cut that out. All right, enter Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine again. We're going to build a different layer this time because we are not embossing, but we are doing die cutting. So I have a 1 plate and a 2 plate. I've got my number 3 bottom plate. Then my white cardstock and my die is going to go next, followed by a second number 3 acrylic plate. That's going on the top. And this is going to get sent through. And we are not done die cutting. We're going to be doing some more. All right, that is exactly what we wanted. Just a great big tag shape. We're going to be doing some stamping on that. And so let's do that next. All right, I'm going to bring in my stamps from the More Than Autumn stamp set. And we're going to be using the donut and the cup. We're also going to use the whipped cream. We're going to use some words. We're going to use donuts, and then for the other word, there's an option. So we'll talk about that when we do it in just a moment. All right, let's start our stamping. With my Memento Black, I'm going to put 2 donuts onto this tag. Now, something is going to eventually go on top and centered, so it doesn't matter what the very middle looks like because it's going to get covered. So I'm going to do my 1 donut way over here to the left edge and up kind of high, and I'm going to do a second donut over here to the right edge and down just a little bit lower. If your 2 donuts happen to actually cross over, it doesn't matter because that's going to get covered. So we have that. We're going to set that aside until we're ready to color it. Then I have a scrap of white cardstock, and on here is going to be 1 donut image and 1 whipped cream. I've got like a funny little piece. Like I said, this is just a scrap. So I'm just going to turn this so it fits a little easier. Now, these are going to get die cut, and so I am leaving some space between. I don't want to get them super close to each other. If you were fussy cutting them out, you could actually stamp them even closer together. All right, and then the cup. Like so. Okay, we're done with the black ink pad for right this minute. And we are going to stamp our words on some scraps. We'll get to that in just a minute. Let's go ahead and do our coloring. I'm using Stampin' Blends. If you don't have the Stampin' Blends or you don't have a full set of all the colors, you can substitute with any other coloring medium that you would like. All right, I'm going to color one of my donuts with Lemon Lolly. Is this? Yes, Lemon Lolly Light. And I may end up making it darker. We'll see. We'll see what this looks like once we're done. We can always add some Daffodil Delight or some Lemon Lolly Dark if we want to make it darker. So I'm doing the icing on the donut on the right side. If you're watching and following along and listening and stamping. All right, so I do have my dark Lemon Lolly, and I think I'll just add a little bit of kind of shading, kind of around the edges. The icing would tend to drip and kind of pool around the edges, so it might look a little darker. You don't have to do a lot. Just a little bit of accent. Okay, there's our yellow iced donut. The other one, I'm going to do blue because I think it's fun. And I am sure that I have seen donuts that are iced with blue icing. All right, so I am using Balmy Blue in light. And then just like I did with the yellow, I'm going to add some shading with Balmy Blue Dark. Now, if you were really thinking this hard about it, you almost wouldn't need to color these very center parts of the donut, since they are going to get covered by another image. But it's almost just as fast to just go ahead and color it. You don't have to worry about missing an area. All right, I'm going to add just a little shading with my darker blue, Balmy Blue Dark. Kind of like that. Now, there's a real toss-up in what color the cake part of the donut is. I could certainly make a case for it being kind of yellowish, or if it's a chocolate cake donut, it would be like a dark brown. I chose to go with crumb cake, just kind of a neutral golden color. So I'm going to do all of the cake part of both donuts with my crumb cake. That way it doesn't look ignored or like I forgot to do it, but it's very, very light. It's subtle. So you can choose something different if you would rather for that cake part of your donuts. Now I have this other donut that I stamped on this scrap. It's going to need to get colored too. So while I've got my crumb cake out, I'll go ahead and do that. Now, some of you who are watching are my Stamp Club VIPs. My VIPs are the ones who commit to me for a whole term and who actually come to my house and stamp with me at Stamp Club in person. And my VIPs do have some benefits of being committed and of showing up each month and also placing their orders. But some of you are watching and you are part of my Stamp Club at Home group. And I love you just as much. It's just different. I don't get to see you, but you have your materials. I send you your packets and you're able to watch the video and either follow along or watch the video before you start your projects and then pull out your packet and create the same projects that we made in person at Stamp Club. So those of you who are watching and are Stamp Club at Home, you might not have the dies to these items that we're going to cut out in just a moment. And if that's the case, that is just fine, because what you're going to do is just fussy cut them. All right, so I'm using I didn't tell you what color this is. This is Bubble Bath, both dark and light. All right, so as I was saying, in just a moment, I'm going to die cut these images out. And for my Stamp Club at Home friends, you are going to just go ahead and fussy cut those. Okay, on my drink, I decided that I wanted it to be a pink drink. So whether that's strawberry or something from your favorite coffee shop that might be pink this season, I decided to go with a pink drink. So I've got that colored in. In my mind's eye, this is like the plastic base of the cup, and I don't think there would be liquid down there, so I left that uncolored. And then around the middle, the little wrap or sleeve that you slide onto there, I decided to do in Fresh Freesia. So it's the same as our cardstock color. So I've got my light Fresh Freesia for starters, and I'm going to just fill this in, and I'm kind of not even fully filling it in. I'm almost like quickly shading it. Okay, like so. And then I'll take my dark, and it's definitely going to have a little shadow up here and here. And then what I did is I'm leaving those little white spaces, because if the light was shining in such a way, it would kind of be a highlight anyway. So I felt like that looked finished, and that's the look that I'm going for. All right, now at this point, we're going to go ahead and die cut our images. So we need to build our base, our stack. And it's the same as before, a 1, 2, and 3 plate. And then our cardstock. Let me grab the dies that go with those images. And I'm also going to grab some low-tack artist tape, just because I don't want my dies sliding and then ending up not coming out cut nice and clean around the image. So you'll see, I know there's a lot going on here and it's really close to the camera, but I'm gonna show you what I'm doing best I can. All right, so I've got the cup die lined up there, and I'm just gonna use my low tack tape to hold that in place. You can also use Post-it tape. You can even use a Post-it note. There's different things you can do. You can use washi tape. Let me scoot this better to where you can see it. There we go. All right. So my method lately has been this low tack artist tape, because it's a really good buy on Amazon. All right, then I'm going to also put the whipped cream one on there. And the donut. And I don't really find that the donut has a specific way that it goes, but maybe with this bump that sticks out a little bit, it might go on this right side. So that's what I'm gonna go with. If you want to line up your die a different way, that is great, because there's not really a clear right or wrong way. All right, there's all of my dies taped into place, and I'll cover them with a top plate and run those through. Sometimes you get those snap, crackle, and pop sounds, and that's okay. Maybe the first time that happens, you're going to think you're breaking something, but you're not. All right, now, even when using low tack tape, you do want to remove the tape slowly and carefully. I have had this stick to my cardstock and rip it if I'm not careful. So you do want to still take a little bit of care when you're removing that. And look how cute our little donut is. And our whipped cream. And the little cup. Such really cute images. All right, I was looking at my scrap to see if I could fit my words on here, and I really can't. If you had started with a little bit larger scrap, you could also do your words on here, but I'm gonna have to grab a separate white scrap when we get to that point. All right, now these pieces, where's my card base? Oh, it's buried here. These pieces are going to go onto the tag. Let's bring our tag back in. And I'm going to put, we're not ready for the card. There we go. I'm going to put my cup right here. So like I said, we're going to cover the middle of where those two donuts meet. And I'm going to put that on with some dimensionals. And this might be a good time to go ahead and do our words too, so that we make sure that they fit and we don't have a problem. I have Pool Party ink right here ready to go. And I'm going to take the donuts stamp. Now, I'll tell you a secret. I just put re-inker in my cart because I realized that this is getting a little bit dry. So I am tapping it all over the ink pad and changing direction to pick up some good ink because it does need to get re-inked very soon. All right, donuts is going to get stamped right here on the tag at the bottom. It's very easy because you can just line it up straight with the bottom of your tag, like so. All right, now that that's in place, let's go ahead and put a couple of dimensionals on our cup. The cup is not that large. I am choosing to just use 2 full-size dimensionals, and that's going to hold it just fine. And that's going to go right here. So all our little pieces are coming together. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is take the other donut that I cut out. Now this is just going to rest right here. It's going to hang off the tag a little bit, which is fine because it will attach to the card. I'm just giving you a visual. And then of course, we're going to put our whipped cream into place. That's going to go up here. So what I'm going to do is put this onto my card front, which is going to help with placement. So I'm going to look at where I want it. Add my adhesive, and if you're using Stampin' Seal, that's great. If you like to grab your multi-purpose glue, that's great. I am hesitating right now because I kind of am wishing I had put my ribbon in. I think I'm going to do that. I have a 4-inch piece of ribbon. It's going to be easier if I at least get it looped in here before I attach my tag, and I thought of that a little late, so. Okay, I'm just sticking it in because in a moment we'll finish it, but I just didn't want to not have it in. So if you're stamping with me at home and you're following along a little bit behind, put your ribbon in and deal with it before you put your adhesive on the back of the tag. That will make it easier all around. Okay, otherwise you're going to have to finagle a little bit like I'm doing. Okay, that is all in place. And now I'll finish my ribbon treatment, which again, you're gonna do before you glue your tag on, and then you won't have to be bothered with it like I am a little bit right now. All right, I have a piece of twine. Actually, I'm looking for my twine. Dun, dun. I have a lot going on right here. Okay, let's talk about that ribbon. The Lemon Lolly ribbon, I am not positive that it is still available right now, but you might already have it in your collection. And the twine that I'm using, I'll get a new piece, is from the Baker's Twine 3-color pack. And I'm using the blue because I think it goes with our Pool Party ink. And I only need a short length. I'll show you what we're going to do with it. I'm probably going to use about 4 inches. Scratch that. If you look in your packet, if you're stamping with me at home, I think you have a larger piece because I was going to have you tie a bow. So I've got a short one and a long one. We'll see which one we want to go with. I think in your packet, it's the long one. So if that's the case, you're going to be able to wrap it around your ribbon, start to tie it so that you cinch it up and secure it like so. Now what I need to do is tie a knot in it to hold it. Otherwise, it just kind of keeps wanting to let go. And this is great if you're stamping with friends because somebody can help hold it while you're doing it instead of you having to do the whole thing by yourself like I'm doing. Okay, so I've got my knot. It's securing the yellow ribbon that is in there. And now I've got enough length to go ahead and actually tie a little bow. If you don't want to tie a bow and you just want to leave it as a knot, that's fine too. But I do think that the bow looks really cute on this card. All right, we can snip those tails a little bit shorter like so. Okay, let's go back to our donut and that whipped cream that we cut out. So I'll show you how I do this. It doesn't make a big difference, but I'm going to put a little bit of my green multi-purpose glue on this side, and I'm going to stick a dimensional, one of the minis, on this side because this is already raised. So it's going to be flat on here, but I don't want it to be hanging down. So I need this raised up to the same level, if that makes sense to you. Okay, let's see. Where is my take your pick tool? It is floating around here somewhere too. You guys, showing you the 3 cards at once today is a lot going on. And you know I'm usually pretty organized and I just feel like everything is scattered. Okay, I've put my mini dimensional on here. And as I mentioned, I'm gonna put a little bit of regular glue here. And that's gonna do the job. So you want it up high enough so it's not covering the D in donuts, overlapping the cup a little bit, and sticking here onto the striped designer series paper. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is attach that whipped cream. If you had wanted to attach it to the cup first and then put the cup on the card, that's fine too. But either way, so I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive there and stick this on. I wonder if I want a dimensional on it too. It won't hurt. So I'll use a mini dimensional at the top of the whipped cream. Same concept as the donut. All right, there we have it. All of our goodies. Oh my goodness, so cute. We're going to add one more little bit on here. So I'm going to take a scrap and stamp. Now the choice here is either you had me at donuts, which is adorable, or this calls for donuts, because that might be if you're going to have some kind of a celebration with your friend or with your grandchildren or something, and you're saying, hey, that's fantastic, this calls for donuts, then you might want that one. So you can pick whichever one you want. I have a sample that already has this calls for, so I will do the other one. You had me at. And I'm using that same Pool Party ink, just on a little scrap. That T doesn't look as good as I wish it did, so I'm going to try a second time, and I'll take the best one. I like that one better. All right, because I need to trim this out, I'm going to go ahead and get my paper trimmer. You might be able to do just fine with a pair of scissors. Knowing me, I would go crooked and then have to stamp again and start all over. So I am not going to take a chance. Maybe that one is better. All right, let's go with this one, trim it out, and quit thinking about it. All right, I want this trimmed very, very close to the words. If you are using your packet for Stamp Club at home, you probably were provided with already about a 1/2 inch strip of paper, so it was already skinny, but you still might want to trim it down. This is ending up a little bit wider than a 1/4 inch, but it is really small. Okay, and then also on the 2 ends, you want to trim that down. This one needs a smidge more. There we go. All right, with a couple of mini dimensionals, we will add this, and all we need to do is the inside of the card. So you could probably just do 2. I'm going to put 3. Sometimes I worry about a long strip sagging in the middle, so I'm going to use 3. It's up to you. And I'm going to peel all these backings off and put them in my trash can. I've told you before, or you've probably seen, sometimes those backings end up on the glass and they don't want to slide to clear up. Like my cardstock, I can slide it like this off. Those little backings seem to be very clingy. All right, we're just going to stick this at an angle right there. Let's finish our card with the inside and put some embellishments on here and we will be done. I have a plain piece of white cardstock. This is going to go on the inside. I do know that a couple minutes when I was moving stuff around that I bumped my black ink pad. That will not matter because it's going to get glued down. So good thing there's 2 sides of paper. All right, I think we'll finish this with another donut. We'll stay within our theme here. So I'm going to open my black, tuxedo black Memento ink pad, stamp a donut here. And what color do you think we should color that one? Should we stay with the pink? You have lots of colors to choose from, so you can do whatever you wish on this one. You could do another blue one or yellow. You could even do a fresh freesia, add in that color. We did not do a donut in fresh freesia, but it would be cute. And a little bit of shading. And color the cake part of the donut. Ooh, which I'm just realizing I don't think I did the inside right here on my other donuts. Do you remember? Did I do it? Now the one I'm using is Crumb Cake Light, just double checking. You could definitely do Crumb Cake Dark if you wanted your cake to be darker. I did, just out of curiosity, try one with pecan pie, and for my taste it was too brown, but definitely a contender. So it's up to you on that part. Now, if you had to fussy cut these pieces out, they were very easy. The donut is easy to cut around. The whipped cream, you just kind of go up and around. And of course, the cup is mostly straight lines. So if you are in Stamp Club at home and you fussy cut those out instead of using the dies, I'm quite sure that that was not hard to do and that you accomplished that with ease. All right, here's the inside. I already have in mind the embellishments that I would like to use today, but so many different ones would work. You could certainly use basic rhinestones or pearls. You could definitely use some of the sequins that are available right now. I want to use these rainbow adhesive backed dots. You can see I'm already running out, so I'm going to go ahead and use up a few more, and I have these in my cart currently. If you don't have these yet, then make sure when you place your next order at my online store that you add a package of these. Many of the colors from this would work. I have used blue before. This little soft green kind of looks like Pool Party. The yellow looks good. So you've got a lot of options. And like I mentioned, my Take Your Pick tool has gone missing. I have a second one here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead with the Pool Party look and I'll do a small one. And a large one. And let's do a large one for our third. You could definitely use all three small, all three large. There's really not any rule to it. About the only guideline is to use an odd number of embellishments or jewels. Use 3 or 5 or 7, and I think you'll be happy with how your project looks. Okay, that is Stamp Club card number 1. Oh, I have a Wink of Stella here, and I think that we should use it. Let's give our whipped cream just a little bit of shimmer. Now, Wink of Stella is really cool looking in person and does not show up very well on camera. So this is probably going to look like I'm not doing anything at all. But in person, it leaves a little shimmer to it, and it's actually quite nice. Now, I am going to make an extra video. I haven't filmed it yet, but I am going to do it. And when I do, I'll come back to this video and link it. I'll put a link right here in the upper right corner for you. I'm going to show you a really fun trick that you can do on this cup. We are not doing it at Stamp Club at home. But I do want to show it to you because if you recreate this card on your own, you're going to want to do this fun little extra. So I'm going to remember to film that, and I will make sure to share that with you next time or another time. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I'm going to dump all of this in a bin and pull out. Oh, here's the twine. It was stuck to my pants back when I was looking for it. All right, and we're going to move on with our second card, which is going to be one with memorable blooms. And it's pretty easy. We're doing 2 cards with memorable blooms, and one of them is more complex, a little bit more challenging technique-wise than this first one. So we'll do the easier one, and then we'll switch to the more challenging one. All right, so for this card, you're going to want to pull out from your packet the pieces that look like this. We've got a pretty in pink base. We've got some other little parts. We're going to do some die cutting. This is your packet for this next card. Okay, as I mentioned, a pretty in pink card base. I do have a white panel that's going to go on the inside of the card. It measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and we will do some stamping on that. I also have a piece of Designer Series paper, and when I was picking this paper, I wanted to find something that was subtle, like this piece, because we are going to be stamping on this paper. So I didn't want the print to be so bold that it didn't leave some room for us to decorate it. So that's going to be fun. We don't often stamp on the DSP. All right, and then I have this piece, and this is Peach Pie. I took a scrap that was 4 inches by 4 inches, and I used this die from the Memorable Blooms bundle and cut that out. All right, so that is here. Then I have a piece of green cardstock. This is Summer Splash, and we're going to cut that out. We're going to die cut that. I have a pre-cut circle that I used the Stylish Shapes dies. So there's my white circle. It's ready to go. And then I also have a scrap, and we're going to do some stamping and die cutting on it. So let's reach for our stamp. And we're going to use a black ink pad. All right, and then this little scrap can accommodate this just fine. Like so. This is going to get colored and die cut. We'll color it in just a moment. And then this little piece is already sized. It should be sized about right for you. If you do need to trim it down, you can. But we're going to do some tone on tone stamping. So I have my pretty in pink ink pad. And I'm using the You Are Awesome stamp. It is from Memorable Blooms stamp set. If you're substituting something different at home, you just want to find a small sentiment or word stamp that will fit on your little piece of pretty in pink cardstock that was prepared for you. Now, sometimes it's easier to stamp on a little bit larger piece and then trim it down, but we're going to try to just stamp on the right size piece and hope that it's centered. So that came out nicely. Otherwise, of course, you could flip it over and try again. All right, then, as I mentioned, we're going to do some stamping on this piece. So we're going to use the same stamp, and I'm going to switch to Peach Pie ink. And if you're substituting stamps at home, you want to just find a leafy branch or a floral, something that will create a nice little print on your designer series paper. So I've got my scratch paper here. I'm going to tuck it under. And I'm going to stamp, with this size stamp, I'm going to stamp 3 times. So I'm going to stamp once at the bottom, kind of coming in like this. And once at the top, and once in the middle. Okay, you can decide if your images need to be placed differently if you want to, but that's the look that I'm going for. And how fun is that, to take that subtle background and then print images, stamp images right on top of it. I am casing this card from another demonstrator that made a similar one. And I will put a shout out in my description as well. All right, let's do our coloring of this little piece, and then we can do our die cutting and put the card together. In this case, I'm only using 2 markers. So I'm using my Stampin' Blends in Light Peach Pie, and as strange as it seems, I'm actually coloring the leafy images in my peach pie. This is just because I wanted to do, well, I wanted something a little different. Plus, I needed this splash of the peach color. We have a lot of the pink, and I wanted a bigger splash of the peach color. So I chose to do these 4 leaves in Peach Pie Light. You could, of course, take Peach Pie Dark and add some accent or shading if you want to. I didn't even bother on this card. And then with my green, I not only did the little stems, but I also kind of went in and squiggled, a little messy like, on these tiny leaves. So it kind of gave it more of a watercolored look. Like I didn't worry about staying in the lines. Do you see that? I'm moving along really fast, just kind of squiggling in the color on the green. That would actually be a fun technique if you wanted to watercolor this instead of using your Stampin' Blends. Okay, that is that, and we're going to do our die cutting now. We can cut this piece and this piece at the same time, I'm quite confident. And since we're just doing regular die cutting, we will build our sandwich layers the same as we did 2 times before today, with a 1 plate, a 2 plate, and a 3 plate on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on next and get the coordinating die and my piece of tape. I think I'll go this way so I can see what I'm doing. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing too. Okay, that should work. All right, let me get that lined up. Take that into place. And then this Summer Splash piece is, it's a scrap, but it's about 4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. And that doesn't need to be taped down because it's not going anywhere, and it's not lined up over a stamped image. So that's going to be fine just like that. And let's run this through. I don't know where you're watching from, obviously. I would love for you to leave me a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Here in Southern California, we have so far had the strangest winter. We have had really cold. We have had, well, cold for California. We have had rain. We have had several weeks interspersed, including like today, that it's in the mid 70s. So you can never quite be sure if you're going to need just a t-shirt or if you're going to need layers. But all that to say, it has been kind of dry. I feel like I need to go put some moisturizer on. I feel really dry today. All right, there's our die cut piece. And we'll pop this one out. All right, if you are following along as Stamp Club at Home members, this piece has been die cut for you, but you do need to do something to it. So we're all going to do the same thing here in just a moment. Okay, I'm using my Take Your Pick tool to help me get this out of there. There we go. It's kind of dainty, so you do want to be a little bit careful as you are removing it from your die. There, it's popped out now. Okay, I am going to take my scissors now. We're going to cut this in the middle somewhere because we're going to split it apart and use it as two pieces. So let's do that next. Okay, we can kind of build our card and then it'll come together as we go. So going back to our card base and the piece that we stamped, I'm going to attach that piece to the card base. So I've got my adhesive, and this is going to go over towards the folded part of the card. I'm going to leave a little pretty in pink showing around the top, the bottom, and the left side, as you can see. Next, my die cut peach pie piece is going to go on there. And I need to switch out my glue. All right, this piece now you do want to just take a little bit of care when you're lining it up so that it looks nice and straight, and you should have about the same amount of space on the left side of the shape as you do on the right side. Like so. Okay, we've got that into place. Now we're going to build our next pieces on top of that white die cut circle. So I'm going to put a little bit, oh, I'll show you a good trick for doing this. This is how this branch is going to kind of stick out from the top and from the bottom of the circle. So we're going to cover the middle up here with our die cut piece. So watch what we can do. This will make it really easy. I'm just going to take a piece of my tear and tape, and I'm going to stick it on here to hold those greenery pieces down. You do want it to be short because, well, it just has to be able to be covered by that. Do you see that? All right, and then this piece is just going to go over the top of it. So it kind of just looks like a little spray. And I think what I'll do is add a teeny bit more of my tear and tape to this. So I've got two small pieces. I'll add one to the top here, one to the bottom, and now watch what we can do. We're going to pull off the backing of this, pull this one off, and then pull this one off. Now, none of that was like required. You can attach this however you want. You can use some dimensionals if you want. You can even use your multi-purpose. It'll hold. But that trick is really helpful. Okay, this is just going to get on there and stick nicely. Now let's pop this up with some dimensionals. And I'm going to use full-size ones for this. I can get by with 3 arranged kind of in a little triangle. And this is going to go centered onto our little peach pie shape. Look at how pretty that is. It's kind of an odd group of colors, I think. The pink with the peach and then the summer splash. But boy, does it work. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is take that long piece of twine. In your packet, you should have been given a piece that's about 8 or 9 inches. And we're going to tie a bow. And this time, unlike most times, we want really big loops. So you have enough length there to get your bow started. And instead of pulling those loops too small, we kind of want to keep them big. All right, like that. We can even this up at the end. But I've got nice loopy pieces right there. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm going to stick this here. You can go either way. You can stick it here and have the ends hanging out to the right, or you can stick it here and have the ends to the left, which I think I'm going to do. I'm going to have, you can go either way, but I'm going to have mine sticking out to the left. This little crimp in here I could straighten out, but I'm going to go ahead and just trim it anyway, so that's not going to be a bother. And I'm going to trim that one. Then I'm going to take my little mini glue dot, wonderful little thing, get one of these, and I'm going to stick it right here where I want the middle of my bow. Okay, then we're going to press that in. So the reason I did my bow this way this time is I wanted the loops and the tails all to just kind of blend in with this swag, not really to end up looking like a bow. We're going to cover it like that, and you see how it just looks loopy and pretty. I like the look. What do you think? All right, let's take 2 dimensionals since they're sitting right here. Let me see if it's going to be uneven. All right, it's up to you. A second dimensional here would be the easy route. The more challenging route is going to be put your dimensional here because it's going to go on this level, which is lower. And then I'm going to put a second glue dot on this side where it's already kind of chunky. All right, so we're mixing it up a little bit. And if that works for you, great. Otherwise, just throw 2 dimensionals on there and don't worry about it. Okay, and I know this is going to go right on top of my bow, so I'm just going to stick my glue dot right there. And then get this guy ready, and it's going to anchor the whole thing down. I am loving it. Cute, right? Okay, I think it needs a little bit of bling, so let's bring in some rhinestones. And we will add 3 of these babies. These are just the basic rhinestone gems, and I'm going to do 3. I'm going to put all of mine, I was going to say all of mine on the white circle, but I might not. Let me see. I'm going to put 2 of them on the white circle. And then I'm deciding, well, right now I'm trying to get this one to stick. There we go. I'm deciding if I'm going to put the 3rd and final one here on the white circle or if I want to drop it down here. I have an example where it's dropped down on the peach piece, so I'll go ahead and put it on the white this time so that maybe it matches what you decided to do. All right, squishing that down, all my rhinestones are set. All we need to do is put a pretty little panel on the inside. So let's do that. We won't be reaching for anything special or different. Let's use what we have already been using. I'm going to clean the ink off of that same image that I used to stamp in Peach Pie there. We'll use Pretty in Pink again. We used it here. And let's use it here. The front is very fancy and there's a lot going on, so I chose to just do the inside understated. Just the image to carry across the theme and call that one a wrap. Let's attach that. And then we will jump into card number 3, which if you're stamping at home with me, keep your Memorable Blooms bundle right out at your side because we're going to use it again. Different stamps and different dies, but the same bundle. All right, there is our first card with Memorable Blooms. This is card number 2 from Stamp Club. All right, let me show you this one. Oh, I said that I had made one where I dropped the third rhinestone down a little bit lower. So there's that. So you could do it either way. I did make one in alternate colors. Here's this one. I don't know what you think about that. More Summer Splash in pink. I did not use the peach on this one. And then I used a little piece of Petunia Pop for the leaves. That one was kind of fun too. Sequins instead of rhinestones. So you could take the same theme and change it up just a little bit. All right, we are on card 3. And you are going to need your packet. Now there's 2 different color variations of this one. So Stamp Club at home, you are doing along with me the garden green and this paper. And if you were at Stamp Club as a VIP and you made your card in person, I'll show you the card that those gals made, just with a different color variation. Excuse me. So you'll see that one at the end. Okay, this has a lot of moving parts, but it's not hard. It's just really, really different. So what you're gonna do is start with your card base. Either color combination uses the same garden green cardstock card base. So that is going to be the same. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach our designer series paper to the front. Now, here is a note. If your packet for Stamp Club at home, your packet for Stamp Club at home that I prepared for you, I did the die cutting on here for you, but what I did is I temporarily adhered your paper to your cardstock front and did the die cutting, so you will still need to glue your paper on. If you are following along for the first time and you haven't made this card yet and you don't have the pieces, let me just teach you what we're going to do. This is the easier way. So you're going to take your adhesive and put it only on the edges of the designer series paper. I mean just on the edges. Now this is especially important on these 2 long edges. The top and the bottom doesn't matter quite as much, but on the 2 long edges you want it to be very close to the edge of your paper. Like so. Now we're going to take that, go ahead and attach it to the card front. Like so. Stamp Club at home, yours was attached temporarily so I could do the die cutting for you, and then it's now loose. So you are going to be just gluing on that paper frame. Okay, the next thing is we're going to use that big hexagon again. We're going to put it here on the card front. Let's go ahead and open the card so we don't make a mistake. We're going to put it on the card front and we're going to cut this out. Now, this is going to be so pretty because it's not only cutting the piece out of the center, but it's going to leave a beautiful outline all around it. It's very pretty. All right, I'm going to hold it in place with a couple pieces of my tape. And getting my machine. Let's run that through to do our cutting. I've got a 1, 2, and a 3 plate. And I've got another 3 plate that I'm putting on top. Now when I run this through, it's a little bit thick because I've got the cardstock layer and the designer series paper layer, but it will go. I am going to run it back through the machine just so it goes. Oh, I got my microphone cord wrapped around the handle. It went with us. There we go. Just get that backed up through it so it gave it a second opportunity to be pressed through the rollers and have that shape cut out. Okay, we're going to need this again in a second because we're going to do some more die cutting. All right, once again, carefully remove your tape or your washi tape or your Post-it tape so that you don't tear your paper. If it's ever really sticky, you can blow some warm air on it, like when you're cleaning your glasses, and that will help to loosen it as well. All right, back to my Stamp Club at Home friends. Your piece came to you looking like this, okay? Because I did die cut that piece for you, but this piece is the part that you're going to glue on because it wasn't glued on to begin with. I didn't want to do that step for you and take away the joy of putting the card together. So this can now pop out. You end up with this. You end up with the Designer Series paper shape, and you end up with a card front that has that wonderful little edge going all around the space that we just cut. Very, very pretty. All right, now the only piece that we're not going to use as we go along is this piece. And what I got to thinking after the fact is how great, had I thought ahead, would that have been to match up my colors and use this piece on that card. Oh my goodness, if I had just changed the colors, we could have used this piece here and we would have had no waste, no scrap. But I'm not going to waste this piece. I'm going to hang on to it and use it on another card. But I did get kind of a tickle out of that thinking, oh man, if I had thought about all my colors when I was preparing all three projects instead of one by one. All right, now this piece we are going to use, but we're going to flip it over and use the back side. So much fun. Now at the end of the video, when I'm done with this card, I'll show you two other cards where I did not flip it. I went ahead and left this in place, and it's pretty too. But if you can find a paper that you like, that also the backside really lends itself to this design, you're going to be super excited. So let's set that aside. Let me show you the next step. You have a piece in your packet that looks like this. Now this piece is 5 1/4 inches by 8. So it's not the typical size, and I have pre-scored it for you at 4 inches. So you can go ahead and fold that piece. Now the card that we're making right now really is a fun fold, and this is where this piece is going to come in. All right, what is going to happen is this piece is going to get attached here. Not yet, don't get your glue out yet. This is going to get attached here and open this way, the opposite direction of a normal card, okay? Normal way, the fold now is on this side. That's going to get attached in just a moment, but we're going to do some die cutting first, like that. And then when this is shut, this is where this is going to peek through. Ah, look how cute. Super, super cute. Okay, let's keep going. So working with this white piece now, what you're going to do, keeping the fold on the right, you're going to open it so it feels like a backwards card at this point, and you're going to go ahead and go back to this shape, and we're going to center it on this side, and you're going to tape it into place. Now there's two ways to do this. So one way to do it is to go ahead and feed this through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and it will cut out a white piece. In fact, it will look just like this, but it will be white, okay? Then you would need to do a second step. Okay, imagine with me if this was white. You would then need to take your white shape and lay this die onto it, which it fits beautifully, and run that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine so that you ended up with this white piece. Okay, again, you're pretending this is white. That is how we would do it. But I'm going to show you another way. So instead of doing that, we've taped our, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hexagon. Yeah. We've got our hexagon in here. We're going to cut this piece out at the same time. So what you're going to do is put it inside. So we're saving a step. Now, sometimes saving a step doesn't really mean it saves a lot of time, because we are needing to line this up really carefully. We do need to center it, and then we need to tape everything down so that nothing moves. Where if you do the other way, if you just cut the white shape out and then put the second die on top of it and run it through, it might be less headache, but it is an extra step. So let's do it this way. For Stamp Club at Home, your piece is prepared for you. You're welcome. Now, if you already have this bundle, some of you requested that you wanted to do all the steps yourself, the die cutting steps. So depending on your situation. Okay, we're going to put this through now. With our 1, 2, 3 plate at the bottom. Our cardstock with the 2 dies taped into place. And our top plate, which is a number 3. And we're going to put that through. Tried not to catch my microphone cord that time. I am going to back it up through here because it's very detailed. And I just want to give it a second chance to go through the rollers and cut that shape out. Okay, we might be done with this. Let's move it all the way out of the way. Isn't this fun? This is so different from a typical, you know, just die cut it out. No, we're doing 2 steps at once. We're layering dies. All right, remove your tape that you're using carefully. You're also going to pop out the shape. Oh my goodness, look at how pretty that is. Ah, has that cute little print exactly where we want it, because remember, this on our fun fold card, this is going to open this way. And then for this piece, you might want to grab, mine is way out of reach. And so I'm not going to grab my little foam mat with my brush, but if you have that tool and like to use it when you're popping your detailed dies out, you can do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to do it with my fingers. Okay, for the most part, it's going to pop out, but right here where all of that detail is, you do want to take a little bit of care. I'm going to poke some of these out just so you don't tear it. It's very dainty, it's very delicate, and that's what makes it so pretty. So I'm going to pull this apart gently. Now, I've never ripped one. I can just imagine if while I'm filming, if I rip one. There we go. All right, there's the die. We can set that aside. There might be a couple little stubborn pieces that you just need to help poke out. Let's see, I had just four of them on that one. You might have 4 or 5 or 6 little pieces that you need to coax out of there. Okay, let me show you how this is going to go, and then we will actually put it together. This piece is going to get adhesive onto it so it can get glued to the inside of our card. That's what it's going to look like. All right, don't do it yet. This is going to close, and this piece is going to show through the middle, and this is going to be on top of this. Oh my goodness, so many wonderful layers. Let's put this piece together and then we'll put the card together. All right, I think that the easiest way to do this, and this is arguable, is to put my adhesive on the very edges of my hexagon, but if you like, you can put the glue here. So it's up to you, and I am gonna stick my, my little silicone pad here, just in case glue goes someplace where I don't want it to be. All right, so a little glue all the way around the edges because we do want our white die cut piece to stick well. And then, because that's only the edges, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple little dots in the largest spaces that are easy to drop glue into. I'm not going to worry about the tiny spaces. All right, so just 3, 4, 5 spots maybe. And then we're going to line this up. You can determine if you want it turned this way so the flowers are coming up more from the bottom, or I'm seeing what I did, or if you want it turned so the flowers are on the side. I'm going to go ahead with the side because I know that that works, but if you wanted to do one little turn that way, that would work too. Okay, you can see it's going to line up with your black and white or whatever color your piece is, your designer series paper hexagon, all the way around the edges. And stick your little dots down that you put behind those little delicate flowers. All right, for the next step, I'll show you how I do it. You could, oh, let's attach this. That'll make the whole thing easier. So keep this in mind. This is the spot that is face up. This flap is on your right, and we're putting the glue on the back here. And that is getting placed on the inside of the green card base. For this step, I really, really recommend your multi-purpose glue because you might have to slide it in place to make sure that it's centered like so. Okay. We've got that in place. Have you ever done a card with all of these flaps and die cuts? This was very different for me, and I'm so happy to be doing it along with you. All right, for this piece, you could definitely just figure out where it goes, but I felt safer dropping it down inside like a puzzle piece. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my adhesive here, closing up all the flaps, and laying this right down inside like a puzzle piece, and then opening this and pressing it down. I got all kinds of little fuzz. All right, we've got our front panel, our inside panel number 1, and then the next panel, which is here, is already framed for us, and this is where our white circle is going to go. Let's do some quick stamping on it. This time I'll be using, what will I be using? Which stamp did I pick? Okay, there's my ribbon. Okay, you guys, I have so much here. Here it is. I'm like, where is my piece? My pieces. All right, for Stamp Club at Home, we did our stamping in Blueberry Bushel. For this card design with these colors, we're doing our stamping in black. Okay, so I've got the little flower, the smaller one. This is the image we used before on the other card. So I'm using this image, and I also want the words, I appreciate your thoughtfulness, which I'm going to go ahead and put on here first, right in the center, because that's easy to see and to eyeball. Oh, I was a little heavy on that side. That's okay. We're not going to redo it because we need to move on. Maybe I have another circle cut here. I had a lot of things going on. I could flip it, but you know how then you get the other side of this? Let's see what we get. Let me see if I can be more careful inking my stamp on my black. And how about a practice? Well, that looks better. I don't know what happened that first time. I was definitely heavy on the right. Okay, we'll see if this one's better. And then we'll decide. We'll get our card finished up. I will show you a perfect one, a good one at the end. Okay, that's way better. Taking that little image, I'm just going to add some at the top and some at the bottom, like so. Oh, and I caught an edge. Wow, we're just full of it on this card, aren't we? Okay. This piece is going to go right here. I am not going to glue mine because I'm going to do this one over. I know you would too at home. So this is going to go here. Very cute. Let's go ahead and finish the front, and then I'll show you one that does not have a circle that is messed up, and we'll finish our card. All right, let's get some of these little pieces out of the way real quick. Are you a tidy crafter or are you a messy crafter? What do you usually find yourself? Do you clean up as you go, or do you make one big mess and then clean it up at the end? Okay, I have the Thanks So Much stamp from that same stamp set. And I have a little piece that is die cut. And it is from Perennial Postage. That's what we're going to stamp our words on. So let me get that piece for you. The Perennial Postage stamp set is not available anymore, but the dies are. And I really like this square that is from that set of dies. And my thank you is going to get stamped on there. I'm going to do a practice stamp on this one as well. See if it was my hand that was heavy-handed or my ink pad that might be inkier on one side. All right, I think that we've got our little ink problem solved. So let's go ahead and stamp right in the middle. I'm telling you, this just barely fits. If you're substituting your own words, just find a small sentiment that'll fit there. And then this is kind of fun because we're just going to attach it right here, kind of peeking into this window. So you're going to want to put your adhesive, whatever you're using, on this corner only so that it doesn't get glue in spots where it doesn't belong. So you can see I've just got my adhesive in that top right corner, and it's going to just get laid right here, nice and straight along with this edge and this edge, but it's only glued on that corner. You can see there's no adhesive here so that this will be able to open and shut easily. And then the last thing that we'll add to this is a little knot. We're not even going to do a bow. So in your packet, you either have two 4-inch pieces or you might have one 8-inch piece. You're just going to snip in half, okay? So that you end up with two. This is some white ribbon that is very delicate. This is the crinkled seam binding. And so I felt like it needed to have two thicknesses instead of just one. So I've just got a simple little knot tied with the two pieces held together. Now you might have some black glittered organdy ribbon, and that was a contender too with the black background there. I thought that that might be pretty. And then on second thought, I felt like it competed a little too much, but you decide. Also, if you have some of that black and white gingham ribbon that we had for so many months, that would be adorable right here. I am out of that, and we only have it currently in black and vanilla, so I did not use that. A quick little application with our glue dots. So I'm pressing the knot into the glue dot, and then using that glue dot to stick it to this edge of the card opposite your words. And then we'll just trim up our tails a little bit. And I think that crinkled seam binding looks nice, but whatever white ribbon you have, in fact, there's two newer white ribbons that are very nice. One of them is in my cart. So use what you have if you don't have this exact one. And there you have it. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to show you a completed card. This is my one with my mistakes. It would look like that. Let me show you the other one, which happens to be the other color variation. All right, so we had this one with the this print, and then flipped over was that black print, and the other version is this one. So this one has the floral, and on the back of the floral is the green grid. And so the construction of the card is exactly the same. Oh, I have this stuck shut for photography reasons. Let me clean that up. All right. So the construction is exactly the same. It's just different DSP. And as I mentioned, I used blueberry bushel ink instead of black, which didn't seem to make sense on this card since there was no blue in the paper. All right, I have two others that I'm going to show you that are the same design where I did not flip the center panel. All right, so you can see this one. The back side of this paper did not lend itself to this little white cutout. So after doing all the die cutting, I just kept this on the upside. And you can see the inside there. And then I did one more color combination, and that was with this paper, and I did not flip it either. So you can see that it doesn't matter which way you decide to do it, whether you flip it or not, it's going to be really a beautiful card. Those are my instructions for today. Thank you. That was so long for you to stick with, but I hope that you enjoyed every minute of the construction of these three cards, learning so much about the dies, the stamp sets, the embellishments. Oh my goodness, so many great things. And the next time that you place your order with me online, be sure and add those rainbow adhesive backed dots, and perhaps consider the Memorable Blooms bundle and the More Than Autumn bundle so that you can recreate today's cards, and also the Forever Plaid 3D embossing folder. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, happy stamping.